guys, John Bennett here. Today we're going to talk about poison ivy, so stay tuned. Alright guys, we got some poison ivy on this old tree, and you can tell because it's like fur, just bushing right out there. Now, this is an old growth poison ivy. You can't touch any of it. You can't touch this part, you can't touch the leaves. All of this is poisonous. Alright guys, let's talk about the leaves. Down at the bottom of the base of this tree we have poison ivy leaves. And there are leaves of 3. Right next to them we have Virginia creeper. The leaves on these poison ivy are not all the same. Not all the leaves look exactly alike. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We have a bunch of poison ivy down here, and if you can see this one, this is pretty smooth. The lobes are around the leaves are pretty smooth. Then you have one up here where the back of the back leaves have a little bit of lobe to them. See that? And this one has a strong lobe down here. So not all the poison ivy leaves are like each other. All right, well, there's a couple of key distinctions and characteristics of poison ivy you want to look for. First of all, yes, the leaves are 3, but the back 2 leaves, the front and back of the leaf is going to be different from each other. So the back of this leaf right here is actually wider than the front part of this leaf. And then the back leaves are going to have no stems on them. But the front leaf is going to have an elongated stem on them. That's the characteristics of poison ivy. The front leaf right here is going to be pretty symmetrical. But they come in all varieties of sizes, colors, shapes. So don't confuse one for another. Don't go looking for poison ivy and look for pointed leaves like that, because sometimes those are, the front ones are large and rounded at the tip. We have a poison ivy right here where that front leaf is actually heart-shaped, but that's not the characteristics you're looking for. First of all, that front leaf has a long stem, and the back 2 have none. And then once again, that back leaf has a wider back stance and is lobed, and the front one is not, but is less wider, and they have no stems on the back leaves. And only about 10% of all people are immune to poison ivy, but it doesn't mean they'll never catch it. You know, people eventually catch poison ivy even though they thought they were immune to it. And the more you get the rash, the poison ivy rash, the more often you get it, the worse it increases in severity. I also want to mention that even though you are immune to poison ivy, you still can contaminate somebody else with poison ivy, because actually the plant excretes a poisonous oil. And that's why you get poison ivy when you rub against it or on it. Okay, so just because you're immune to it doesn't mean you can't give it to somebody else. You can carry that oil on your arm, rub against somebody else, shake their hand, and still give them poison ivy. So be very careful. The poison ivy doesn't always grow up trees though. Sometimes it'll grow along the ground, a long vine just under the dirt. And all along it, you'll have these shoots popping up with these leaves on it. You'll think it's a patch of poison ivy. It's actually usually one vine, maybe a couple vines growing out. But all that poison ivy is underground and stems from one vine. I've had it before. In North Carolina, I cleared a whole standing of poison ivy. We took all the precautions, gloves, boots, long sleeve shirts, and I still caught poison ivy. So you got to be really careful. You can't just think you're gonna protect yourself against that. Okay, you got to be very careful about scraping it, getting near it, walking on it. And another thing is never burn poison ivy. Okay, you're going to put that poisonous fumes into the air, and you're going to ingest those fumes, and you're going to poison your lungs. Okay, so you never want to burn poison ivy. You don't want to cut this tree down and burn that tree, because you're going to burn those poison ivy fumes right into your lungs. If you ever find yourself accidentally eating poison ivy, the first and foremost thing you want to do is self-induced vomiting. In other words, make yourself throw up. Then immediately call 911 and go to the hospital. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscription button, that notification bell, and like.